I went ahead and developed some of this area in here. I'm going to stop because I think I might be overworking it, especially up in here, and I'm going to take some of those lines out and soften some of these. I want it to look more of a mosaic-like thing. I think his face looks real similar to the Grand Canyon, and I want it to have that undulating. I want it to look, the wrinkles to look deep, but it's so red. It's got all the reds and greens that the Grand Canyon has. He looks like the earth to me. So I want to I want to bring out all the beautiful color in his face. I don't want it to be garish, but I want it to really sing. So I did some of this, and some of it I may leave. I like the way this is looking, the beard. And I probably am not going to do much more in here. I need to work on this a little bit. I've tapped some of it, some of the areas, and you can see down here where it's fallen off, and in here, and you need to do that every so often, or your painting will not be stapled. So I'm just very lightly tapping. And this is because this came off so much because I used that Sennelier, and it didn't really press into the paper very well. So a lot of it fell off. But I'll go back in with a harder one, a Rembrandt or something like that, or my Grimbacher, to push the color in. I kind of am liking this tone here against the green instead of this light here. So I'm going to make an artistic decision to do that, because I like that there. I in the painting that I did, I made this all green, and this was all too dark, and I really like this geometric pattern that's going on down here. So I'm going to continue on with his hair for a little while, and I've introduced some green in here. It's more of a yellow green. I'm going to add it in his hair here to give it some depth. And this yellow green, this is even yellower. And come in and maybe chisel in a few darks. It's kind of important not to make all your strokes in the same direction. Like this I've done, because that's supposed to represent the angle, the way his beard grows, and his wrinkles. So I did that on purpose. But when I come in to chisel in, I'll chisel in and go this way for some style relief, I guess you would call it, just so that everything isn't going the same direction. Now this hair back here is what's left of his natural hair color, which is like a dark brown. And so I'm going to go ahead and pull some of that in, those darks. Once again, I'm going to change the angle because I'm going to come back in on top of this with some light colors for his hair, the wispy hair that comes down. This part of his hair is kind of hugging the back of his head. I need to fix that sky back there, because I kind of made that bulge out a little bit too far. So you can just take your blue and fix that. This is also starting to come out a little too much. Come in and fix that and blend that into the sky. This hair really does obscure the back of his neck, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. This color fell off a little bit here, so I'm going to add that back in make it darker. I noticed when I was doing the oil painting that this part of his neck is really orange compared to this, which is more purplish, and then this, which is green. So he has just wonderful range of color in his skin. This is too bright, so I'm going to bring it down with something, maybe this one, maybe a little bit of this more purpley color. Yeah, I think that looks better. But this right here is pretty orange, so I'll give it another whack here. And next to his shirt is pretty dark here, so I'm going to add a shadow. And it looks sort of like an outline now, but it won't when I put the hair over it. I've developed his face even more. I haven't worked on this part all that much, or nor his ear at all. I'm trying to get this to be a color gradation that I like, a harmonious. This is a little, I don't know, I made it sort of pinky, and I think I don't like it all that much. I may make it yellower. I think what I need to do is finish his ear. So there's a lot of this bluish purple in it. I'm going to add this kind of dark, it's a dark purpley mauve-y looking color on his ear. His ear has many different colors in it that aren't necessarily over here. It's, like I said, the blood supply is very close to the skin in the ear. So there's a lot of red in it, especially when you get to the edges, like the edge of the ear is going to be very red right there. But that's too much red, so I'm going to come in and it just needs to be a little hint of red right around the edge. And then the way this comes out, I'll add the highlights last. Okay, these are all too light. I think I'm going to go ahead and use this. It's not the right color, but it's pretty much the right value. It's more of a reddish color. Maybe this would be right. Well, the painting is coming along, and I have come in and worked on this just a little bit more in here. And now I'm starting to pay attention to this lower section down here. I haven't done a whole lot in here and in the back of his ear because this is all got to be done before I add the hair, the final hair, the wispy things coming out. So I'm going to be working on this, and it's mostly just technique at this point and color. I have chosen these blues early on, which I like. It's a denim blue, but it's lighter. And these are Giroux, which I love these Giroux. They have a beautiful set of blues that I purchased at the Pastel convention, and I just love them. They're soft. They're small. They're a little bit hard to hang on to because they're not very big pastels, but I do love them, and they have a beautiful range of blues. So I'm just going to start working on this shirt to try and get the folds. And I use the flat edge to get the color I want. I want it to look round because this is over his shoulders. And he's a very old man, so his shoulders are stooped. So we don't want him to look like he has the shoulders of a 30-year-old man. He's a 90-year-old man. And he's got a bit of a hump, as you can see. He doesn't stand quite upright because he's a little bent. And I want to get that in there. I like it. Now I can come in with that lighter one and heighten this back because the sun is coming from this direction. It's hitting him on the shoulder, and the front of him is in darkness, which is why his eye socket and his mouth and under his nose are all so dark. You always have to take into account your light source, even if it's artificial or natural. He's got a highlight here on his collar. So, and it's warm. It's a warm color. Warm blue. So I don't want to get it too icy looking. And I've got a warm blue over here. I think that will warm that up. I got this a little wrong, so I have to take this green off because it's sliding off. My light color is sliding off the green. So I use my stiff brush and I'm taking it off, and then I'm going to reapply it. Reapply that color here. See, now it sticks much better on the area that I removed. And I like that better. Just little tricks, little technique tricks. This is one of those inexpensive galleries that I kind of like because you can sort of rake over the pastel that's there. It doesn't pick it up, it doesn't add much, but it has a blending effect, more or less. Now when I look at this now, it's starting to turn more purple in the photograph. So I'm going to pick up my purples here. My purplish blue, that's way too dark. So it makes a transition from warm blue to cool blue. We want to go over real slowly. So I'm going to key off of his ear here because I've lost my drawing. And it's about here, as you can see here, where the seam of his shirt comes. So I'm going to drag this reddish blue. You can see how it's sort of starting to turn toward the cool side here. But as I go, this pastel is sort of raking off into my tray, which is what I want. I'm gonna add some of this reddish blue in here on the collar. Because the whole collar is lighter than this, and but when you squint, it does blend in a little bit down here. There is a value between here and here. Value change. I'm kind of using a rotating, I guess you would call it a scumbling technique here. Now this is going to be too bright here, I know it, because this gets more of a dusty blue down here. But I like this color, so I want it to be underneath right now. Because it does tend toward the red. So now I'm going to pick up a dustier blue and start hitting these darker areas that need to be darker with the dusty color. So light, very, very light pressure. This will be lighter in a minute. I'm going to keep it pretty dark right now because I'm going to go back in and add the folds. I'm trying to fill in all these little white specks that didn't get filled in before during the initial lay-in. So now I'm going back in and making sure that everything, every single thing is covered. Now I don't want any specks showing at all. No specks. I'm going to switch back over to my dark color. This is a Sennelier. I'm going to switch. This is another Sennelier. I bought a nice set of darks from Sennelier at a different convention. Really like them. And then add a bit of this eggplant over here. Where it's the darkest. And in contrast to my darks, this is a very dark, cool blue, and these are very dark, warm reds. So I'm trying to get the contrast between the darks, but they're still darks, and I still haven't used black, pure black. So now this is too dark, but it will lighten up when I add folds. And it's kind of the wrong color too in spots. At this point, I need to stop and squint and look at the big shapes that I've laid down and start to make some details of these folds. So I'm working on this one right here. That's not light enough right here, but I'll get to that. But I want it to fade. I want it to fade down into the front of the shirt. So I'm just so barely touching. So I need to lighten this whole passage up just a little bit through here, because I'm looking at this guy. Just sort of wiggling this down, and it does fold across his chest. So I don't want to make it go straight down, because then it looks like he's a cardboard cutout and there's no body underneath. So I'm making it follow the shape of his chest. Once again, he's an elderly man, so he's not a big beefy guy. And plus he was a slender fella to begin with. So this, I may have to take a little bit of that off, but I don't think I'll have to, because it's the same color, in order to get that light strip there, which I like. So we're starting to add the folds. So this fold travels off the bottom, kind of pretty thick down there, and this guy goes off, and it's very light right here. But I haven't gotten to the lights yet. I haven't done that yet. So we're just sort of going along and forming the drape of this shirt with lights and darks. And I'm still using the flat side of the pastel only. This warm color, the warm color travels all the way down to about here. So I'm going to pick up that stick again, that warm stick. as I'm going along the edge here, I'm softening it. Softening the edge between his skin and the shirt. I don't want it to be this sharp line, because that's not my, I don't want that to be the focal point. This is what I want to be the focal point right here. Right here. So I'm going to end up making that pretty sharp right here, because I want your eye to go to that. The shirt is incidental. It supports, it's the base of him, but it's not the star of the show. This is the star of the show. So I'm kind of blending this with these harder sticks. Now when I look at this is definitely looking warmer than this, but that's okay with me, because I don't want this blue to be this exact same blue. I want them to be slightly different blues. And in the photographs, it's different. It's more purpley up here. And this is in the same family as all the mountains and everything. And it looks great in the photo, but I wanna make that a little different here, because I think it needs the variation. Good, so now I'm gonna take this stick and start adding a little bit of, maybe this one would be better. A little bit of pigment underneath his collar to create the shadow. Just barely touching it. I can go back up here with my stick and repair that, because this has got a very nice S curve right here. I don't know if you can see this, but there's this S curve right here that comes around. And I don't want to lose sight of that, because that's really pretty. I need to fix this angle here. It's coming almost straight down. It needs to come back. So I need to fix this angle here, and then I want to have that S curve, because this is part of what brings you up and into him. You want to always, in your composition, have, you want your eye to travel into your focal point from any point in your dimensions. So if you're over here, this should move up here. I'm going to maybe, this angle is a little bit severe. I'm going to maybe drop this down a little bit so that this whole shape points toward here. And then this will all bring you up here. So this is too straight. I need to angle, I need to curve this so that this will go up toward him. This, if I'm entering here, this is going to travel up toward him. I'm going to fix this so that this comes up and makes you travel here. If you come in from this way, this is going to lead you this way. This, if you come in here, this leads you here up, and then you travel up in here. If you come, you're going to come this way, it comes in here and leads you. So all points should lead up to the focal point, which is right here. And I've got this ear. I like the ear, but I'm going to maybe make it go back just a little when I do the hair. This is too defined right here, and I want it to come back a little so that it doesn't try to compete with this. This is, it's necessary and I like it, but I'm gonna try and fix this so that it recedes back more. So I'm going to fix this angle of his shirt, and it also comes up higher. I don't know, I think the problem is it comes down more here. It comes down more here. Yeah. Well, I think there's something wrong in here and I've got to fix it. So I'll be back in a minute. When I left off, I had to fix the collar because I wanted this S curve in here. And so I just kept on going with the shirt. And then I did this background better. And I like this. It's not as light as this, but I like that differentiation of color. And it's pretty much the same value. Not, well, a little bit lighter. But anyway, I think it's pleasing, and it breaks up this big area here that I had done in my oil painting that I didn't like. So anyway, I got this. I did this yesterday, and I really haven't touched it since. But then I darkened the mountains a little bit and did some buildings, little teeny buildings here in the background, and made all the edges soft. Except for this in here, which I wanted this to be sharp, like I've been saying. And I did soften his ear a little bit and make it the same, more the same value as his neck. So this is finished. I'm pleased with it. I think it's much more successful in the pastel than it is the oil painting. I just couldn't get the colors that I wanted. I wanted these deep, deep colors, rich colors in his face, and I wasn't mixing the colors very well in oils, but I think I was successful in capturing his face. And in the beginning, I said I wanted it to look like the Grand Canyon, and I think it does.